Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Welcome, everybody, to the first of the Welcome to the Thunderdome podcast. As you guys read on Tuesday, I did try to do video, and it was just so fucking bad. My camera quality on my laptop is just horrible. It looked like I was in some fuck dungeon somewhere. It was all grainy. I was all like pasty and sweaty, which isn't any different than any normal day, but it was just kind of exaggerated by the camera. And so I kind of watched it back, and it was kind of like watching a rabbit get put through like a meat grinder. I was just kind of squirming the whole time, and it was cringy, and I just fucking hated it. So I felt like this was maybe a decent middle ground, so where I can still kind of do something different, but you guys don't actually have to see my face the whole time, and I can still kind of have some fun. So I think that's what we're going to do. I'd like to maybe do this hopefully once a week. Honestly, this might be the way forward, that like maybe both times, depending on what my time looks like. If I don't get to write an email, like today, Liv and I were crazy busy at work. And then I had to leave about midday to take her to the airport. She said something about never wanting to see me again, and something about there's a guy out in like Omaha, and she'd be so much happier. And I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention, but she took Em with her. So Matt, kind of do with that information what you will. But yeah, like I said, I just didn't have the time to get the email done today. So I figured I'd maybe kind of just talk into a microphone for a little bit, and that's just kind of a nice change of pace. So I don't know about you guys, but I lost a lot of my childhood wonder after week one. I don't know if I've ever been beaten as bad. Sam beat me in week one. God, I lost. It was 165-94. And I don't know how to process those feelings, because I've been lucky enough where that doesn't happen. That hasn't happened to me very often. Especially in week one. My track record in week one has been pretty good. But I got to kind of peek at my phone every now and again. Like I said on Tuesday, we were playing golf on Sunday, and I would come back to the car and check my phone, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And it kind of put a big shit cloud over my week one. I hype up fantasy football so much because I literally have nothing else going on in my life. And between, just like the waiting for it to happen and the mock drafts, it was kind of a big anticlimactic start for me in week one. It was kind of like finding out when you're little and you find out for the first time that Santa's not real. It was kind of like that, but if hit over the head with like a tire iron when your parents told Santa wasn't real. I've always been a big Joe Burrow guy, and I still am a big Joe Burrow guy. On the way to the airport, I drove Liv and Em, and we were talking about Joe Burrow, and Em was going on about how she's got a little bit of a lady boner for Joe Burrow, which, as you guys know, I do too. It was kind of like Joe Burrow cheated on me, even though I have nothing to do with him. After he threw 4 picks, he literally started the game with a pick 6 on his fucking first pass of the game. So the blood flow down there dropped a little bit for Joe Burrow, but we'll see if he can get back to normal this week. I'm sure I'll go right back to making oil pastel paintings of him in my room here. I know like Joe Burrow had like kind of a tough matchup, but I had some guys who are in really good spots, like Alvin Kamara against, I know they were in Atlanta. Starting of the season on the road's never easy, but Atlanta sucks. Kamara totaled 7.6. Debo had to play in a fucking monsoon. He got 12, but it is what it is. Ezekiel Elliott was a big fat shithead. Nobody on my team could do fucking anything. Like I feel like they owe me an apology. I really feel like they should write me a letter, or at the very least like sing me a song. Kind of like this.
I'll be your dream, I'll be your wish, I'll be your hope, I'll be your love, be everything that you need. I love you more with every breath, truly, madly, deeply do. I will be strong, I will be faithful, cause I'm counting on a new beginning, a reason for living, a deeper meaning. I wanna stand with you on a mountain, I wanna bathe with you in the sea, I wanna lay like this forever, until the sky falls down on me.
So yeah, I am at home by myself for the next 2 days, 2.5 days, something like that. And it's weird when Liv's not here. I don't know where food comes from. I don't know where clean clothes come from. I had to eat dinner by myself in the dark. I ate a whole pizza over the sink like a rat. But that's enough about me. Let's get into some football here. As of me recording this, I'm the game tonight, the Thursday night football game tonight. So I'm just gonna go in like I would my email, not knowing anything, and just kind of showing my, or kind of just spouting my predictions and that all that kind of shit. Just kind of giving you the facts, really, more than anything. So let's just go ahead and get right into it, and we'll start with me and Al, who both just I've been sitting on a donut all week. And I'm sure Al has too, because we both got just absolutely murdered in week one. Let's take a look here what me and Al's matchup looks like. He's got Lamar Jackson going against Miami this week. Miami just completely fucking shut down New England last week, and they were just so fucking good against New England. But they're gonna have a tougher test against Lamar. I don't think that's a walk in the park for Lamar Jackson by any means, but I mean, Lamar's Lamar. Al will have Austin Eckler going tonight, actually, against Kansas City, who was held in check for the most part against the Raiders last week. It was pretty high scoring, but they just didn't really use him that much, which was kind of weird. But I mean, I think they're going to get him going in tonight's game in week two. So I think Austin Eckler is always going to be a problem for me, at least. Tyreek Hill going this week against Baltimore. Both him and Jalen Waddle, I think, finished with like 18 fantasy points last week. It looks like they're going to try to get them both equally involved. I really didn't know which one they were going to throw to, if there was going to be a clear favorite. But I guess in that offense, it could be both of them. More often than not. And Baltimore's got a tough defense, so it'll be interesting to see how they use Tyreek Hill in that one. Cortland Sutton, it's first game in Denver on Sunday against Houston. As long as Russell Wilson finds his fucking wide receivers before the third quarter in this game, then I think Sutton's in for a big day. I know Judy was his favorite target last week, but this could very well be Sutton's day. That does not bode well for me. 49ers D's got a good matchup against Seattle. The Broncos, once they've kind of figured it out, the Broncos D turned it on and held them in check. There's this huge narrative that Geno Smith is like this hidden gem, fucking whatever. He's not. I'm sorry, he's not. And the 49ers D playing at home in their home opener, that's gonna be a tough ask. I think we're gonna see the real Geno Smith in that game. As for me, I do have not ideal matchups on paper if you're just like looking at the stats. Joe Burrow is in Dallas on Sunday. They've got a good defense. Dallas does. They've got a good defense. They were pretty good against Tampa Bay. Granted, Tampa Bay's a lot of their offense is just hurt, so we didn't really get to see their full arsenal of weapons. But I don't know. Dallas is another team where, like, now that Dak's hurt and they still don't have Michael Gallup. They are going to have to win. If they're going to win any of their games here early on, it's going to have to be on defense. That's a tough one. You'd like to think he's going to bounce back after just throwing 4 picks and being terrible for the most of that game, but I don't know. Alvin Kamara, he's dealing with a rib injury. I don't know how that's going to go if he's not fully healthy. If he couldn't do it, 90% healthy against Atlanta, it's going to be a tough ask against Tampa Bay, who has a tough defense overall, but especially has a tough rush defense. Ezekiel Elliott, I don't know on Zeke. He's not very good anymore, but they did also just lose Dak, and there's no way they're going to trust whatever the fuck that Cooper Rush or whatever his name is, the backup quarterback in Dallas. There's no way they're going to trust him to sling the ball all game. So if things go well and I catch a fucking break here, then I'm hoping Zeke gets to run the ball 100 times in that game, and hopefully they don't go down by 100, which they could. Debo, he's got a good matchup this week against Seattle in a game that shouldn't hopefully be underwater like last week. Who knows? I'm talking complete shit here. I just am shouting nonsense mostly. In my flex, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I have honestly no fucking clue what I want to do. Right now I have Chase Edmonds against Baltimore. He's kind of carving himself out as the number 1 running back in Miami. But Baltimore's a solid defense, and the game is in Baltimore. So I don't know what I want to do yet. I can play him. I could maybe take a chance at Allen Robinson, even though he was looked at one time in that game last week against Buffalo, and just hope that maybe the narrative is to maybe throw him the fucking ball more than once. Or I go Jeff Wilson Jr. And hope that he gets a fair share of the looks in San Francisco with Elijah Mitchell being out. So I have no fucking idea what I'm going to do. I don't love my matchups this week. It's projected pretty close. It's projected we're both at 125, so fuck, who knows? I was also projected 3 points behind Sam, and he beat me by 6,085,000,000. All right, next up we do have Colin and fuck me. I told myself I wasn't going to try to say it. Disparenia? I think RU's an N, an N, and Disparenia? I don't know. I'm just going to make myself look fucking stupid. Anyway, it's where your balls and dick hurt when you're having sex. So it's Saquon, these nuts, versus ball and dick pain when you're before, after, and during beefing somebody. Now, Colin, laid just a fucking chud on Al last week, and it's not surprising because his team is stacked, but he did lose Dak Prescott, and he was forced to pick up Matt Ryan, who honestly isn't that bad of an option. The Colts looked really good. Their offense looked really good in week 1, and it's no surprise. Matt Ryan's 1,000 times better than Carson Wentz is. So he'll go with Matt Ryan this week in Jacksonville, which on paper looks to be a really good matchup for him. As part of that same offense, he will have Michael Pittman Jr. going, who exploded last week. Clear-cut wide receiver number 1. Fournette is dealing with a hamstring injury, it looks like, which would be huge if he was out for Matt. But if he's not going to miss any game time, then he's in a massive spot in that depleted offense. Tampa Bay, they don't have really any options on their offense right now, and Fournette was really, really good in week 1, so I could see them trying to get the ball in his hands, whether it be rushing yards or in the air, getting the ball to him a shitload, so he's in a good spot. DeAndre Swift is kind of in the same situation. He is dealing with a little bit of an injury. I think he's leaning a little bit more towards not playing than Fournette is, but I just am regurgitating shit that I read all day long. Swift was insane in that game. I've said it I think I said it in one of my emails before, that he gets a very Alvin Kamara type of workload. So he gets a ton of rushing attempts, especially in the red zone. They do historically have thrown the ball to him a lot. They didn't really in week 1, but if Swift is healthy, he's got a game at home against Washington, it's a great spot for him. Staying in that Detroit offense, Collins got staying in that same Detroit offense. Collins got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was really, really good in week one. He's got a great spot against that Washington secondary that is not good. Now, Collins going to go with the Packers D this week, which I think is a really, really good shout. It's at Lambeau. It's Sunday Night Football, and it's against the Bears, who they historically have just fucking dominated all year. That Bears offense this year is horrible. They pulled off that win at Soldier Field last week against San Fran, but that's not going to be a common occurrence at all. It's going to be a lot different this game. It's going to be an angry Aaron Rodgers, an angry Packers secondary, because they got just airmailed all last week by Justin Jefferson. So Packers are in a really good spot. I don't know what the defensive rankings are this week, but Packers have got to be like 1 or 2 probably in the defensive rankings. So Colin, he's got a really good team. I don't know if he'll watch any of the games because his head will be in an oven all game. That's a joke for him just making a bunch of baked goods, which I'm assuming he does all day long while not wearing any clothes. As for Matt, not bad matchups at all. Matthew Stafford's in a great spot against Atlanta at home, looks like. Stafford got to play just a fired-up Bills defense and didn't really get to get anything going for the most part. That should be very much not the case against Atlanta, where they should kick the living shit out of those guys. So Stafford's in a great spot. Javonte Williams, he's playing at home. I mean, they trust him as the number one, and last season he had the most yards after contact, which we saw a lot of in that Seattle game. So Javonte Williams is in a great bounce back spot. I'll be betting on him to get into the end zone at least once. Jamar Chase, once his quarterback actually realized that Jamar Chase was on the field, got the ball a lot in week one, and I think that Dallas defense is good, but it is exploitable. So if we see like the best version of Joe Burrow, we're going to see the best version of Jamar Chase. So I wouldn't say he's in a bad spot this week by any means. Kind of an iffy one, but surely Cincinnati's gonna come out firing after that shitty asshole fucking display against Pittsburgh. AJ Brown, another one in that Philly offense, he was just insanely good in week one. Ayahuasca Rogers didn't showcase any of his talent in that game, so it's kind of hard to see how good that Minnesota defense really is. This will be a lot tougher of a test for them with that new Philly offense. So AJ Brown's always a good choice. And Juju Smith-Schuster. I actually bet on him tonight to score a touchdown anytime. I like his spot tonight. LA Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers, they were beatable in the air. And now they've got Mahomes this week, who was just fucking slinging the ball to anybody that was looking at him. So they're in a tough spot this week, and I think Juju definitely gets into the end zone at least once. I like his spot. And then looks like finally Matt's going to go with the Colts defense as of right now anyway. And looks like Matt's going to go with the Colts defense, which I think is more interesting than it looks like on paper, because I wouldn't blame you for streaming anybody against Jacksonville, because that offense still just kind of isn't trustworthy. I think Trevor Lawrence is like meh. But the Colts, and this happened last year, if you watch the in-season Hard Knocks with the Colts last year, they went over it. But the Colts haven't won in Jacksonville in like their last 14 appearances or 15 appearances, and they had to do it last year to guarantee themselves a playoff spot, and they didn't do it. So I don't know. That's an interesting one, but I mean, if it all goes well, I mean, then the Colts actually play fucking good football. They should smack around Jacksonville. All right, next we have Abby and Sam. I'll be honest with you, Abby. Like I cannot for the life of me figure out what CSL is, nor do I think I'm ever gonna get it, because you said it wasn't inappropriate, and that just kind of shuts down like 90% of my brain, so I can't think of like clean CSL stuff. I took 8 shots at it last week. I didn't hear from you, so I don't know if any of that's right. But you did say after my first email that one of the names in one of my guesses was right, which leads me to believe that the C stands for crabby or the L stands for lady. So I've been kind of going along with that, and I just cannot fucking figure it out. Cobra season lettuce and, oh, I don't know, Chicago silly lizard or crabby shit llama. But it can't be that, right? Because there's no profanity or it's not inappropriate. So it's like the Da Vinci Code for me. I can't figure it out. So we're gonna go ahead and just leave it for now. Let's see. So Abby has got Patrick Mahomes. I already kind of went over Patrick Mahomes, but he's in a really good spot tonight. Yeah, Mahomes is just he should be slinging the ball around, no problem. Dalvin Cook, Monday night against Philly, not his strongest matchup, but Dalvin Cook gets the ball a lot. You know that after that week 1 where Justin Jefferson got the ball 300 times for like 1,000,000 yards, that Philly secondary is pretty good. So I imagine they're going to be trying to lock him down, which probably means more work for Dalvin Cook. Philly's secondary is way better than the rush defense, so could be a good spot for Dalvin Cook. Dameon Pierce, I can't see a situation in which Dameon Pierce like lights up the Broncos on the ground. But I'm wrong all the fucking time about pretty much everything, so yeah, I mean that could be good news that I'm saying that. Fuck, who knows? Mike Evans, another one dealing with an injury. There's a lot of people dealing with injuries after week 1. I know the ESPN like quote fantasy experts quote aren't super stoked on Mike Evans or just the entire Bucs offense in general, really. But I mean, at the end of the day, it is Mike Evans. He's massive. He's like 6'5". He's their biggest red zone threat if Tampa Bay can get in the red zone. He had like 5 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown. So it was a good day for him last week. It could be about the same this week, honestly. It just kind of depends how healthy he is. Dalton Schultz, I don't know if he benefited or if he's going to be lacking now that Dak Prescott is gone. In the chance that Cooper Rush does throw the ball, it could be a lot to Dalton Schultz. And less to guys like CeeDee Lamb. Just those little quick dump off passes, those quick slant tight end routes. It's not a bad spot for Dalton Schultz. Maybe it's kind of tough to tell until we see how good that Dallas offense is without Dak. They weren't good with Dak in week 1, so it leads me to believe that's going to be a struggling offense. But again, I don't know anything. And then Amari Cooper, Cleveland against New Jersey. That's not the game I'll be watching on Sunday. I say New Jersey, fuck me. It's the New York Jets because I'm a fucking moron. Amari Cooper only mustered up like 17 yards against Carolina. He's in a better spot definitely against the Jets in Cleveland, but I don't know. It's not a good offense without that rapist they have at QB. So, I don't know. Now, Sam was very smart in week 1 for several reasons, because not only did he show up dressed in like a suit and a tie and glasses, pretty much putting everybody else to shame, but he went with the Montucky Cold Snacks as his team name, which is like it's kind of becoming an inside joke in our friend group, like these Montucky Cold Snacks. It's just kind of like the GOAT beer now. But he made a very smart decision by making him his team name because it just seems fucking unstoppable. And he comes in at like looks like a 5-point favorite in this one. And admittedly, he probably does have a little bit better matchups than Abby, but it's pretty close. Trey Lance has got Seattle this week, and I think we see the better version of Trey Lance in this game. James Conner managed to get into the end zone in week 1 despite his offense not being very good. I could see him getting into the end zone this week again against a little bit worse team in Las Vegas. David Montgomery does not have a good matchup in Green Bay. I mean, I could see that becoming like a bloodbath to where where David Montgomery kind of just fades out of like the game plan. But at least early on, if Chicago can keep it close and not be down by like three touchdowns at halftime, David Montgomery could still play a moderately significant role. Justin Jefferson, a lot of high expectations with him after week 1 when he shoved his dick in my ear 7,000 times for 1,000,000 yards. A lot of expectations with him again. I mean, he's going to catch several targets in this game. He's going to, I mean, he very well could score a touchdown. Is he going to have the 180 whatever yards he had last week? My guess is no. That's a tough one in Philly with that good secondary. But, I mean, it's Justin Jefferson. He was the second best wide receiver or third best wide receiver in the draft for a reason. So I don't think there's anything to really be worried about there. And the same goes for Davante Adams, who I think between the two has a better matchup at home against Arizona, who, like I said, got smacked up by Mahomes and the Chiefs last week. Earlier today, I saw a thing that said that Davante Adams' grandparents are going to be at the game, and they have never watched him play professional football before. It's written in the stars that he's going to just have this fucking monster game. I think he's going to have 150 plus receiving yards and at least 2 touchdowns. I'm calling it right now. That's Sam's best wide receiver matchup of the day, if not maybe the best wide receiver matchup in the league this week. And then the Browns defense is a good pickup, especially against the Jets. I think you should really just stream whichever defense is playing the Jets that week if you can get them. Joe Flacco is at the helm, who just sucks, and he's old and he's awful. And even if it was Zach Wilson, even if it was Captain Milf at the helm, I think you still stream any defense that plays the Jets. It's just a shitty team. A lot of Jets fans, even after week 1, were saying they're just hoping for draft picks at this point and like get a good draft spot, and they've already kind of threw in the towel. So this will be an interesting one. I think it will be close, but like I said, Sam does have about the 5-point edge in this one, and it could come down to that Davante Adams. It's going to come down to Davante Adams against Arizona or Patrick Mahomes tonight against the Chargers. Those are just 2 huge matchups that could sway the difference. How's this going, by the way? I know it's a lot of me talking, which is kind of the point, but I mean, this is more or less just kind of what my email is. You just have to listen to it instead of read it this time, which I feel like is a nice change of pace, but you guys may fucking hate it because you may just think my voice is horrible, which I don't blame you. There was one time when I was still working at Red Rocks. I want to say I was still in college, and I was working during the summer. And it was one really busy night, and I was working with Al, and I kind of got talking to this customer. I think I was wearing a CSU hat. I think that's how we got on the conversation. He was asking me like about school. Then he asked me what my degree was in, and I graduated in journalism and media communication, and I told him that, and then he kind of just like gave me this weird look, and then he goes, well, I guess we need to work on that speaking voice then. And then fucked off. And then, like, got his shit and left. Like, no further part of the conversation. He just dipped. So, if that guy's right, which is very possible, I'm sorry for what you guys are enduring right now, because this must just be like throwing a cat down the stairs. And so, if my voice is just fucking horrible, then I don't know what to tell you. Sorry. But anyway, we'll get back to what I was doing here. Let's see where we're at. Looks like we have, it's Liv and M. That'll be fun tonight. They will land in California, and they can have at it on Thursday Night Football, because it looks like Liv has Justin Herbert going, who was good in week 1. Kansas City I don't think that's a defense to fear, and it never has been. So I think Justin Herbert's going to be very busy. He should be very good in this one. Oh yeah, okay. So it looks like M's got Mike Williams too. I usually do one team and then the other, but considering they're going to be with each other during this game, M's got Mike Williams, who wasn't targeted fucking at all in week 1, despite Keenan Allen going down with an injury. That's probably going to change this week. Mike Williams should be really busy if they don't give the ball to Eckler the whole time. But could be a similar situation that M found herself last week with Casey and the Bills, where she had Josh Allen just hucking the ball to Diggs on Casey's team. So could be a similar situation like that. Liv will be hoping that Herbert finds anybody not named Mike Williams. Let's see. Liv has got Derrick Henry going against Buffalo. Buffalo can be run on and will be run on by Derrick Henry. Like, he's just he's a fucking refrigerator with legs. He's a human rhinoceros. Like, there's really no stopping Derrick Henry. But like I said earlier, that game is in Buffalo, and they're just going to be like going fucking berserk. So there are very few matchups for Derrick Henry that aren't great on paper. I think that is one of them, but it's not like he's going to get 0. It's fucking Derrick Henry. Michael Carter, one of the big surprises of week 1 in that Jets backfield. He was very, very good in that week 1 game against Baltimore, I believe. And he's got a good spot against Cleveland this week too. It's probably still a little bit of a committee with him and Breece Hall before I imagine Breece Hall probably takes him over. But at least for the time being, it was a good start for Michael Carter, and he should be in for some decent points against Cleveland. CeeDee Lamb, going back to that very lackluster Dallas defense, fucking stupid. Dallas offense, not great time to have CeeDee Lamb stock, I don't think, because with Dak going down, they're going to be throwing the ball less and less far. So it's kind of just the circumstance is just kind of unfortunate to have CeeDee Lamb, but he's one of like the 2 guys on the team right now that can catch the ball, so it's not like they're not going to get him involved. But Cincinnati's got something to prove after that week 1. And it's a pretty good spot for them, not maybe so much for CeeDee Lamb. DK Metcalf was okay against the Broncos. He's got Geno Smith thrown to him, so I mean, it's not a great time to have DK Metcalf either. But I don't love him in this matchup in San Francisco for San Fran's home opener. Going to be a tough one. Not playing at home. Tough one for DK. Antonio Gibson, again, one of the surprises of week 1, I thought. He was very, very good. Where in last season, he was okay, got hurt, came back, and then got his fucking points vultured by the handcuff situation they had in the backfield there in Washington. But at least as of right now, it's a good start for Gibson, and he's got one of Liv's better matchups this week in Detroit. And Rams defense is a solid choice. I think they were actually picked up maybe off the waiver wire, if I remember right. But playing at home to Atlanta, Atlanta's a struggling offense. Rams are going to be fired up after getting smacked around by the Bills. It's a good spot for the Rams. All right, over to M. Josh Allen has got a great matchup against Tennessee. I mean, you saw what he did last Thursday against the reigning Super Bowl champs. Just like fucking smacked him around, threw all over him, ran all over him. There's no reason he shouldn't do that against Tennessee. QB1 overall matchup for Josh Allen. Joe Mixon should be in line for a lot of touches against Dallas, especially if things start going poorly for Joe Burrow again and they want to just run the ball. I think they will be able to do that against Dallas on Sunday. Rex Burkhead, not great because he's part of like a 4-person committee at running back in Houston, and they're playing the Broncos here in Denver. So not a good matchup for Rex Burkhead. Mike Williams, he's got a good matchup against KC tonight. Thielen could be in line for some more work than he was in week 1. He was just kind of a bystander to Justin Jefferson. But like I said, I think the top brass in that Philly secondary is going to be all over Jefferson, so which should leave some room for guys like Thielen, who could be a little bit more active in that in Monday night's game. They have 2 Monday Night Football games this week, and that keeps like fucking with my head. One at 5:15 and one at 6:30. I don't know why that is, but I mean, that's cool with me. Kareem Hunt was another one who got way more involved in the offense in week 1 than I thought he was going to, and gets a great matchup with the Jets. He caught 2 touchdowns last week and finished with around the same amount of points, if not a little bit more than Nick Chubb, I think. So if they use Kareem Hunt in the same way again and kind of just use him as the air guy and use Chubb as the ground guy, I think there's no reason that he can't find the end zone at least once and get 15 plus fantasy points. It's a good matchup for him. And I like the Panthers defense. I think M picked them up off the waiver wire as well. If they can find a way to stop Saquon and keep the ball on the ground and keep it limited, I think they're going to do just fine. They don't have a whole lot. Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones is horrible. So if they get into a situation in which they can make him throw the ball even, then I like that Panthers defense this week. So, it's a close one. This will be interesting with M and Liv going at it. Liv, in my opinion, has the worst matchups, but she's got like a 5-point favorite over M, 128 to 123. But fuck, who knows? That's a good one. Maybe they'll fucking get hammered and start smacking on each other after tonight if they keep updated with the football scores. Looks like we've got Case and Ben. No Zane, no gain, and reverse Cowboys. That's a good one. I like reverse Cowboys. Ben always has the best names. He had like 100 names last year, and when I ran the poll at the end of the season, because Sam has a Google Doc that keeps track of all the names, I put every name that was used in a poll last year, and I think the top 3 that were voted were all Ben's. So we're gonna have to name that. We're gonna have to name that award after Ben at some point probably. But he comes in with reverse Cowboys, and then Case going with the old reliable Zane, going with no Zane, no gain with the 6 for the G. And if you don't get that reference by now, it's because every year Case has been in the league, he's used like Zane something. It worked out great that he got to use the 6, so this is the 6th year he's using Zane and got to use it as the G. I'll be curious to see what happens when he gets into like the 7s, the 8s, the 9s, but fuck, I have no doubt that he'll be able to make it work. Case has got Jalen Hurts going against Minnesota. It'll be a tougher test for him in week 2 than it was in week 1 against the Lions, but Jalen Hurts was really good, and that was a good Philly offense in week 1, so it's not a bad spot for him at all. I think he's a top 5 or 6 QB in the rankings this week, so shouldn't be any problem there. Najee Harris has got a pretty decent matchup against New England. In my mind, that game doesn't have a lot of points in it, but that's got a lot of Najee Harris involvement in it. So just based on usage, I think there's a good spot for Najee Harris there. Going back to that Cleveland offense, that tandem with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, Casey has the former. Nick Chubb's in a great spot against the Jets, who you can just do pretty much whatever the fuck you want to do to him. He had a huge week on the ground last week. He should have a huge game on the ground this week as well. So, Nick Chubb's in a great spot. Stephon Diggs is in a great spot against Tennessee on Monday. Josh Allen, it's just him and Diggs have just this connection where it, like what they did last week, they threw to Gabe Davis like early and often, and then once they got Gabe Davis his touchdown, then it was just fucking Diggs, and I don't see any way that it's not that again on Monday against Tennessee. So Diggs is in a great spot. Waddle is in kind of an interesting spot too. I'm not sure. I mean, he was just as good as Tyreek Hill in week 1. Tyreek Hill. He was just as good as Tyreek Hill in week 1. So I'm not sure what that Baltimore secondary is going to do, where they're going to put most of their attention. My guess is it's going to be on Tyreek Hill, but if they leave Waddle open, he's going to get a shitload of the ball. He is like just a few paces off of Tyreek Hill in terms of speed, so that's an interesting one. That's one of the ones. That's one of the games this week that kind of stumps me a little bit, but it's probably a game in which Miami's going to have to throw the ball a lot, and that's a good script for Waddle probably in the end. So it's not a bad spot there. Darren Waller is in a good spot if they decide to share the ball a little bit more than they did in week one. If they're gonna be playing for fucking Devontae Adams' grandparents, which means he's gonna get probably most of the snaps again. But I mean, they've got Waller there at their disposal against Arizona, who just let Travis Kelce fucking destroy them. So it's a great spot for Waller if they do decide to actually use them. Bengals defense, I don't hate that at all against Dallas. That's a good choice, I think, because just fucking tons of injuries and no Dak. So as long as they can stop the ground game and Zeke, I don't think they have to worry at all about CeeDee Lamb getting a lot of the ball. If they can keep Dalton Schultz in check, that should be a win for Bengals, and that's a good spot for the defense. All right, and for Ben, Ben had a big week one after spending most of the time at the bottom of the barrel last season. It's good for him to get started with a win. Kyler Murray was mediocre in week one against the Chiefs, but he's in a little bit better spot against Vegas in a game that should be a shootout. You'd think it's never a bad time to have Kyler Murray when they need to just throw the ball. So I think he's in a good spot there. McCaffrey's got a great matchup against the Giants. He was more of like a normal kind of player in week one, but it is Christian McCaffrey. As long as he doesn't like break his spine, his fucking neck, or like blow a fucking hamstring or something like that. In a PPR especially, McCaffrey's good against pretty much anybody. DJ Moore's in a good spot against that bad Giants defense. It's in New York, which makes it a little bit trickier, and Carolina was okay against the Browns, but DJ Moore's is in a good spot. He's wide receiver number one there. Judy, I absolutely love Judy this week. He lined up in the slot pretty much every snap, and Russell Wilson, he loves slot receivers, especially at home. I love Judy to do what he did against Seattle, if not even better. They might try to get Cortland Sutton involved a little bit more, but I love Judy in this one. Love Kelce against the Chargers tonight. He's become, with Tyreek going, he kind of becomes one of the best pass catchers in that offense, if he wasn't already, really. He put up a massive stat line last week. I see him doing that again against the Chargers at home. And then that Cowboys defense, looks like Case and Ben have their defenses going up against each other. I touched on it before, but if the Cowboys are going to win games, they're going to have to win games through their defense. I don't really know how I feel about this one. I like I said, if Burrow is Joe Burrow, normal Joe Burrow, then the Cowboys defense is in kind of a tougher spot this week. But if he's week one Joe Burrow, I mean, the Cowboys defense could be in line for 10, 15 fantasy points, because I think the Steelers defense got like 18 or 20 or something like that. It was huge. So if Joe Burrow is the same as he was in week one, it's a good spot. If he's better, which I think he's going to be, but then I don't know. It's kind of an interesting one, but it's not a terrible. It's not one of the worst defensive spots this week. This one is close. Casey comes in at a slight dog, looks like a 3-point dog in this one, but he was a dog at the start when he won last week. So, you just never know. But this so far appears to be one of the closer ones of the week. And lastly, we have Vic against Matt Glassmeyer. Now, Vic, he's going on kind of an interesting path with his team names here. It's Peroneus Longus Stew. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Peroneus Longus, I think, is your calf muscle? It's something in the leg. That's all. That's all I know. But it's essentially leg muscle stew. So Vic's just staying on trend with eating people. He's just getting a little bit more technical with it, which is interesting. And then Matt changed his name. He is Ayahuasca Rogers. If you didn't see the reports before the season started, Aaron Rodgers admitted to taking ayahuasca in the preseason to kind of go on like a spiritual journey or whatever the fuck. And ayahuasca is a psychedelic, if you didn't know. Yeah, I don't know. That guy gets fucking weirder every week. I still wholesomely believe that ever since he started dating Shailene Woodley, it just like he became this fucking weirdo. But Shailene Woodley also, she like tans her vagina because she thinks it gives her mystical powers, and her best friend is like a ginger root or something. I don't know. She's fucking weird. And it all rubbed off on Aaron Rodgers, who seemed to be normal until that. So I don't know. Now he's just a fucking freak. But Vic is got Russell Wilson, who was better in the game, I guess. I'm trying to I guess he was awful at the start, which was always going to be tough. It's his old team who fucking booed him, by the way. As soon as the game started, they were all booing him, which is crazy. He's a fucking Hall of Famer who played his entire fucking career in Seattle. So that's really kind of classless and shitty of Seattle to just fucking boo him the whole time despite leaving. But he's got Russell Wilson this week against Houston, who's in a great rebound spot, I think. I think the Broncos smack around Houston at home. He gets to go from that hostile, shitty environment in Seattle to a place where the Broncos fans get to see him play for the first time. So I think it's a great bounce back spot for Russell Wilson. Vic's got Clyde Edwards-Helaire going tonight, who I really like tonight. I like him. They threw the ball to him quite a bit in week 1, which was surprising. So I like that again tonight. I do like him to maybe score a touchdown. It's kind of a pleasant surprise if you're a Chiefs fan or if you have him in fantasy like Vic, because last year he was kind of a dud. A lot of uncertainty what they were going to do with him going forward, but he was great in week 1, and I think he's going to be great tonight. So it's a good spot for him. Cooper Kupp, and I don't care who the fuck he's playing. He could be playing the Monstars. He could be playing like the fucking Chinese military. Like it kind of just, it doesn't really matter. Cooper Kupp is going to put up double-digit fantasy points in every game he plays as long as he doesn't get hurt, and he's going to put up a shitload on Sunday against Atlanta. It is what it is. Like we can see it coming from a mile away. It's the number 1 wide receiver matchup on the rankings. Cooper Kupp's never not going to be number 1. He's just in like an amazing spot this week. Terry McLaurin, I think, is in a good spot this week. That Detroit defense wasn't shutting a lot of people down against Philly last week. And McLaurin had a good week 1. They're gonna have to throw the ball a lot. I see a similar kind of game in Detroit as we saw last week against Philly. I think it's going to be a lot of passing, a lot of high scoring. McLaurin's going to factor into that for Washington, so I think it's a good spot for him. Darnell Mooney is a big no for me, I think, in terms of him having a good game. I don't know. They're gonna have to throw the ball in that game because they're going to be down by like 2 touchdowns at some point. And Mooney's their best guy by a mile now that Allen Robinson's not there. So, I mean, I guess there is a little bit of potential for Mooney if the game script calls for it, but I just think that's going to be such a tough game for Chicago. Green Bay at Lambeau. That's going to be a tough one. Bills defense is going to be great. That Tennessee offense is horrible minus Derrick Henry. They don't have anybody to throw the ball to anymore. They fucking traded all their wide receivers. Bills, you know how good that fucking Rams offense is with Cooper Kupp and stuff, and Bills they didn't shut down Cooper Kupp, but they were good as a whole, and they get a way less potent pass offense in Tennessee. So as long as they can keep Derrick Henry in check, that's a great spot for the Bills this week. All right, over to Matt. Matt's got Aaron Rodgers, who I just love this week. I think he's gonna just put a noogie on Chicago, especially getting embarrassed by the Vikings. He's in a great spot as long as he stays off the mushrooms and the ayahuasca and the whippets and the whatever the fuck he's doing in his spare time. As long as he comes in with a clean head, or maybe not. The Bears are bad. Maybe it'll help him. It's a great spot for Rodgers regardless. Jonathan Taylor has a great matchup against Jacksonville. Jonathan Taylor's another one. He's matchup proof. You're going to love him no matter who he's playing. And he gets a bad team in Jacksonville. He should just run all over them. He's good for at least a touchdown or two, I'm sure. Aaron Jones, same thing, part of that Green Bay offense. I'm sure he'll be utilized just fine. He'll probably get in. Great spot for him. Gabe Davis is another one I like. He's a great second guy to have when they catch on to throwing to Diggs every play. I could see a very same situation which happened last week where they kind of use Gabe Davis often early in the game to think, oh shit, maybe he's going to be the guy this week, and then they end up throwing to fucking Diggs every other play. But I think they're going to get a lot of work out of Gabe Davis early. This is going to be a game with a lot of Bills touchdowns in it. I think Gabe Davis will have at least one of them, if not a lot of yards. So I think Gabe Davis is in for a good one this week. Don't love Kyle Pitts. He had a good matchup last week and didn't really get involved at all. And he's got a tougher matchup this week in LA to play the Rams. The only saving grace is they're going to have to throw the ball. But are they going to throw the ball to Kyle Pitts? I don't know. They should. He's really good. But that's probably one of Matt's tougher matchups, if not his toughest matchup of the week, along with the Chargers defense as well. I don't know. I don't like any defense against the Chiefs, but hey, fuck, who knows? Like I said, I could be wrong, but that's a tough ask for the Chargers to keep the Chiefs at bay. But fuck, you never know. So I think that's it for the matchups. I'll go ahead and make my predictions now, just so you can either laugh at me or call me a genius when I'm right or wrong. I don't love my matchups this week. I don't. Historically, I've struggled against Al in the past for some reason. He's always kind of been one of my bugaboos. He has the better matchups on paper than I do this week, so there's not a whole lot of self-confidence going. I think I start the season 0-2. I think Al goes back to 1-1. Colin will probably win just because I think he has the best team out of everybody. Picking up Matt Ryan is not going to hurt him at all. If anything, it might actually help him. It could end up being an improvement over Dak. I'm sorry, Matt, but with, I don't know. I like Colin almost in this one. And plus you kind of are bringing on yourself, you're giving yourself a name that has a bunch of like painful genitalia. I hope that doesn't happen to you this week because I hate Colin. I'm just kidding, but it could happen. This is a tough one. Colin's a slight favorite. I think it's deserved. I think Colin goes 2-0. I think Matt goes to 1-1. Abby and Sam. Well, depends. I feel that Sam's probably going to win this one, but I could feel differently after tonight depending on how good Patrick Mahomes is. He has got a great matchup against the Chargers. I think he's going to throw at least 3 touchdowns. If Abby gets up to a monster lead tonight, then it would be hard not to think that maybe she could pull it off. But Sam's got some good matchups this week. I don't like just rolling with the favorites normally, but if we're being honest here, I like Sam maybe just a little bit more, given that his wide receivers he has the best 1-2 wide receiver tandem in the league. So sorry, Abby, Mrs. Cock sucking lips. But I think Abby goes to 0-2 and Sam goes to 2-0. Liv and M. This is a tough one. This is the one I'm actually going to have to give to M. And I know Liv's going to be like, oh, fuck you, or like, you roll her eyes. I don't have to see her today, so I don't have to deal with that. This is the one where I'm going to have to go with the underdog and give to M. I love Josh Allen's matchup. Don't love some of Liv's matchups. I don't like CeeDee Lamb. I don't like DK Metcalf. I don't, out of all the weeks to not like Derrick Henry, this is probably the one, I guess. I just think it's close, but I think Liv has the tougher matchups on paper, whereas M maybe takes the edge just a little bit if Mike Williams gets involved tonight on Thursday Night Football. So I give the lean maybe to M slightly, making her 1-1, and I think, sorry, Liv, but I think you go to 0-2. Don't know what to tell you. Case and Ben. This is a toughie. This is the closest one of the week, I think. But I'm gonna give the lean. I'm gonna give the lean to Case a little bit, just barely, because I love the Diggs matchup against Tennessee. I think he puts up massive points. I like Najee Harris against New England, and I really like Nick Chubb against the Jets. Ben's got great matchups himself, though. I'm gonna give the lean to Ben on this one. And it's really, really close, but I gotta take Ben, I think, just because his matchups are just a little bit better. I don't know how Jalen Hurts is going to do on Monday against Minnesota. I don't think he has quite the success as he did last week against Detroit, but I don't know. And I love Diggs' matchup, obviously, and Nick Chubb's matchup, but I think just overall Ben has a little bit better chance at success with Kyler Murray is going to be in a shootout spot. McCaffrey's in a good spot. And I love Judy and Kelsey this week. I think Judy's in a great spot to be huge, and Kelsey's just Kelsey. I think he gets in at least once for around 100 yards too this week. So I think this one's really close, but I'm gonna give the lean to Ben just a little bit. Sorry, Case, don't fucking eat me, please. So I don't know, guys. Like you tell me. I like doing this format. I really do. It's a fun change of pace than writing an email. Like I imagine you guys get sick of me writing the email, but I wanted to give you guys another way to like maybe listen to my shit, but also maybe doing something else. That's kind of want to do just not the video, but just do my voice so you guys can listen to it while you're doing something, or or maybe just not listen to it at all. I'm not as interesting as I think I am, and maybe my voice is just fucking jarring and horrible, and I wouldn't blame you for thinking that. But if you guys like it and this is something you'd like me to keep doing going forward, I'd absolutely love to keep doing it. I think it's going to end up being better than video, just because, like I said, you can just sit there and listen to it, and I don't have to worry about having this good camera set up and everything. I have a good mic, so I don't know. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's very much a work in progress, very much a trial run. So there you go. Anyway, that is going to do it for the first ever Welcome to the Thunderdome podcast. I hope you guys don't fucking hate it. If you do, please tell me, because then I'll just fucking don't do it anymore. But I'm going to go and sit in the dark because Liv's not here. And maybe I'll call up that fella that I saw in the newspaper. What was his name? His name was, I have it here. Let me see. Archibald Meat Pants. Maybe I'll give him a ring. It sounds like it could be fun. Anyway, have a good day. We'll see ya on Tuesday. Godspeed.